the Marlins are back from an 0-5 road trip to face the Diamondbacks at Marlins Park. What happened? Did anything get any better? And what needs to be done to improve? All that and more coming up next. Well, the Marlins just got back from a rough road trip in Washington and New York City, and they're off to face the Diamondbacks here at Marlins Park for a 4-game wraparound series. And so we saw more of the same stuff, starting with Game 1, where Joe Saunders of the Diamondbacks pitched a complete game shutout. Marlins weren't able to get anything going. Zambrano went 6 innings, allowing 3 runs on 10 hits. That's pretty decent, but if you look closer into the game, Rob, what did you like about Zambrano? What didn't you like about Zambrano?
Well, I'm starting to like Zambrano's just makeup this season. I mean, you haven't seen this type of Zambrano in years. And you're starting to see him aggressive. Rafi, like you mentioned in the last episode, you're starting to see a little smirk on his face. He knows he has good stuff, and he was being very aggressive. And his fastball is moving all over the place, which keeps the other team off balance. Now, the thing that I wasn't too particularly happy with him was in the 3rd inning, he came up, there was a runner on first. We were only down 2-0. So you bunt the guy, you get the guy over, you're 2 outs, and the front of the lineup is struggling. But, Big Z, you're not going to hit a 2-run shot in that situation, tie the game, just bunt the ball. He ended up swinging at a ball away, hit it back to the pitcher, double play, and that's the end of the inning. I liked his poise on the mound. He's starting to put successful outings together, which is what you want to see. Because again, this is April, guys, so if you get a little bit of success now, once everybody else starts clicking, he's going to be huge in that rotation. So although we did lose that game 5-0, I did like to see Zambrano aggressive like he was. He needs to be bunting in that situation, not swinging.
So we move on to Game 2 of the series, where we had Aníbal Sanchez pitching against the Diamondbacks. We all know his history against the Diamondbacks, having pitched a no-hitter his rookie season in 2006. Well, this game was no different. Different in the sense that he didn't pitch a no-hitter, but he was just dominant, recording 14 strikeouts. Walked 4 batters in 7 innings, 2 runs allowed. And again, the bats kind of slowed, but you know what? They got going in the 7th with a run. Lomo tied it in the bottom of the 8th, the home run. And then we're head to the bottom of the 9th, which is an interesting scenario here. We had Giancarlo Stanton at second base with the first base unoccupied, and Ziegler of the Diamondbacks, Brad Ziegler, intentionally walks Jose Reyes. That's obviously coming from the dugout to bring up Hanley Ramirez, who's kind of stumbled in the last couple of days. And, you're thinking to yourself, at least I was thinking to myself, you don't want to do that. No matter how bad you're struggling, no matter how bad Hanley's doing, you don't want to intentionally walk somebody to get to him, because I think he'll find a way to win. And I think we saw that, obviously, with the line drive base hit to left field to score Stanton. And Rob, do you agree with me? Should the Diamondbacks have walked Reyes?
It's one of those situations where, you look at the numbers, and this is why analytics, you have to go outside the analytics. All the stats were saying you're better off facing Hanley than Reyes. It's one of those situations where anytime you intentionally walk a superstar to get to another superstar, there's going to be controversy over it, because you might say, oh, that guy's going to get amped up now because now they think that he's an easy out. Fortunately for us, he hit a ball to left field to win the game. So it worked out for us. And then the other thing was Sanchez. He was just lights out. After he allowed 2 runs in the first, he got 18 straight outs. And you just saw him just attacking the strike zone. Not having any fear. And again, we're just going back to the rotation. The rotation has been amazing in April. And it's been carrying this club. But, you can't carry the club without any offense. And, that was very evident in this series. Now, one thing I did want to point out was Bonifacio. They moved him to second base, and he made an amazing play at second base. He was diving to his left, made this play while he was falling down to first base to get an out. And it just shows the depth of this team. Where you can bring a guy from center field, put him at second base, and he can make an amazing play like that. So, we won this game, and we had everybody contribute to this one.
Yeah, and on top of that, I want to point out the bullpen in that game, allowing no runs in 2 innings. And I think that's an improvement considering what happened on the road trip. And so we move on to Sunday, where not so much. You talked about the fact that the pitchers can only do so much and the hitters have to help. Well, in this case, I think the other shoe dropped, and Josh Johnson got the start, Marlins ace. He did strike out 8 Diamondbacks, but in the process allowed 5 runs. And, again, the bats couldn't get going. Until the end. Stanton hit a 3-run shot, but it wasn't enough as the Marlins lost 8-4. And aside from that, you had Diamondbacks rookie Wade Miley throwing no-hit stuff until the 6th inning. So the combination of these things didn't work out for the Marlins. And Rob, what stuck out for you in that game?
Obviously, Wade Miley, we weren't expecting much from him, but he ended up no-hitting us into the 6th. And like I said about Loesch, it's not too much a testament to his pitching as it is to our lack of offense. And we were just not that aggressive in that game. We were grounding out a lot, and the energy that we had at the end of Game 2 in the series, we didn't carry that into Game 3. And, because of that, we lost that game. Now, one particular play, which is just a testament to the entire month of April, was a ball that was hit down the line, caught by Kubo, and he ends up throwing Infante out at first base. That's a huge play because, you never want to get thrown out on a flyout. Now, I understand Infante's aggressiveness. He wants to get to third in that play. If it's a ball down the line, maybe even score. But when you watch the replay, you can see Infante turning and running back, but he's not running at full speed. I don't know if it's the injury or what the case is, but you see at the very last few seconds where, Thornton is telling him the ball's coming, and then he turns it on. So, we need to see this from everybody. You're not seeing the aggressiveness, the attacking of, a game that we used to seeing in the past from teams that are really good. So the entire team just needs to get into their minds that we need to win right now, and we need to do everything possible. Pitching, offense, base running, speed, everything to win ball games.
You're definitely right. One thing that frustrated me about the series and frankly the season in general is Mike Dunn's performance. He came in to supplant Josh Johnson, and he didn't do too well. In 2 1/3 innings, he allowed 3 runs. You can't have that happening. And as a result, he was optioned to AAA along with Chris Coghlan for Dan Jennings and Ryan Peterson, who gets recalled back up to the major leagues. And, we'll see how that goes. But I like the move because, it shows, hey, if you're not getting it done here in the major leagues, you're going down. And it's likewise with Coghlan batting 118 during the stretch. So a couple of moves there that needed to be made to at least say something. We go into Monday's game where the bench players did actually come through in some cases. But before I get to that, Mark Burley had to start, and he also got lit up by the Diamondbacks. 7 runs, 4 earned. You can't have that. But, like we mentioned, because the hitting isn't going, eventually the pitchers aren't going to be on every day. And it didn't work out for Burley. But on the bench side, you had Donnie Murphy with a pinch hit 2-run shot. And then later on in the game, Austin Kearns getting the spot start on Monday with a 2-run shot as well. So you start to see the bench kind of waking up a little there. And Rob, did you like what we saw in the hitting front, or, can we see more of that?
There was a few situations that I thought were key to us scoring, and we needed to score in these situations. First one was in the first inning. We have Corbin making his major league debut. We get the bases loaded, 1 out, and then we ground into a 1-2-3 double play. And right there you just saw, if we would have scored at least 1 run in that inning, no doubt in my mind we win that game, just because it would have been one of the first few times that we score in the first inning, and it would have gotten the offense going and would have gotten us, we can score in this game. And later on in the game, we ended up scoring with home runs, but if we would have scored early on, it would have set up the offense for the rest of the game. And then the other key was Heath Bell. Heath Bell, if he comes in, is lights out in his 9th inning, we have a chance to win in the 9th. We were down 7-5 going into the 9th. Bell allowed a few runs, and we ended up losing 9-5. So, it really deflated the offense. If we had gone into the 9th with a 7-5 deficit as opposed to 9-5, we might have scored a few runs. But, the bullpen's not coming through, and, that just puts more pressure on the offense to score so many runs that the bullpen can sustain it, and it's just not happening. We're not clicking on those cylinders. Starting pitches is acceptable, but the bullpen and the offense is not going.
After the game, one thing I liked about what Ozzie said in his press conference was these players have to learn how to make adjustments, and if they don't make those adjustments, I'll make it for them. Finally, you see that frustration. Watching these press conferences after the game, it almost seemed like he was taking a passive approach to things. Yeah, it's the beginning of the season, so you may not want to be hot under the collar, but finally making me believe that he's going to do something about it was very comforting to me. So we'll see what happens on this upcoming road trip. Well, in the last 9 games, the Marlins, no surprise, are 1-8, batting 182, 18 runs scored. This team seems to be atrocious. Reyes, Ramirez, and Stanton batting 159 with 6 RBIs. It's not what you want out of your big name guys in the lineup. The team's average with runners in scoring position is 100. That's borderline. That's right on the Mendoza line. And on top of that, Rob, what can you tell us about the whole month of April as a whole?
Well, the month of April was definitely a rough one for the Marlins. They finished 8-14 for the entire month. You saw a lot of bad stretches where the Marlins just didn't score for a couple of games, and there was, lack of offense. But again, we continue going back to the pitching. The pitching was the only reason we have 8 wins in the month. As far as other statistics throughout the month of April, the team as a whole is batting .228 and has a .291 on-base percentage, which is close to the bottom in the National League. And you're just not seeing the offense doing anything right now. But the thing that I said in my other show and in the shows past, this is April, guys, we still have time. One thing you should find comfort in is this: the Marlins will play 21 road games in the first 5 weeks of the season. That's the most in the majors. For most teams, they play better at home than they do on the road. Now, for us, we haven't been better each way. But, the lack of offense could be because of all the flights and going all over the place for the first few weeks of the season. Now we're going to be able to settle down a little bit. And going into the later part of the season, we're going to have a lot of home games, which that's exactly what you want towards the end of the season. If you're in a run in September, you want to have a lot of home games, have that home field advantage. So hopefully we start picking it up in May and then kind of keep it going each month, with a winning month each month going into the later parts of the season. Then April will be a distant memory going into September.
So the Marlins head to San Francisco, San Diego, and Houston. And I believe the key to the road trip is Ozzie. That's right, Ozzie. But I want to see how he manages a team that right now looks lackluster and looks like they're not really into it. So I really want to see what Ozzie's going to do on and off the field. How about you, Rob?
Well, to me, like you mentioned those stats about Reyes and Ramirez and Stanton, that's my key to the road trip. We need the top of the order to keep hitting. I know, Rafi, you mentioned that in the last homestand, but that's still the case. If we get the top of the lineup going, we can get a lot more offense going and score a lot more runs. And the pitching's still going to be there. Ricky Nolasco pitching in San Francisco should be a good matchup. So I think getting a lot of offense from the top of the lineup is going to be key for us to score runs and win ball games.
Well, that wraps it up for our show. Be sure to check us out after the road trip. And we'll leave you with our random video of the week, which we like to call the Make Out.
Freak Out.
Later.